The Houston Rockets have only won 3 of their last 11 games. They're slumping right now. So Will and I are going to talk about the Houston Rockets' expectations to close the season and a few other topics as well. So stay tuned for this episode of the Bradeaux and Will Show.
All right, and welcome back to an episode of the Bradeaux and Will Show. You guys heard Brad in the intro. We got a couple of topics we're going to talk about with you guys today, pertaining to the Rockets and more specifically with how they have been losing a lot of these games recently, which has taken us, I believe, we were the second seed. I believe we're now the fifth seed now. So
Yep.
it's been quite a fall from grace for this Rockets team as of recently. But to start the topics that we had Alperen Sengun and his struggles at the top of the list, and to kind of summarize that, he had Alperen Sengun had a great year two. I did a great year three as well. I thought he should have been an all-star last year, and he kind of came into year four with a new contract, and everyone's kind of expecting him to take another leap or another step forward. And I do think that his game has improved and gotten better in certain areas. Like, for example, I think his defense, it still has its moments where it doesn't look good. But I think as a whole, defensively, he's improved tremendously there. He's much better defensively this year when it comes to moving his feet, when it comes to showing on screens, when it comes to getting back to protect the rim. I think he's done a great job at progressing there. I think he's done a better job at boxing out and rebounding this year. But the problem is, for as good of improvements as he's made defensively, rebounding, the different little marginal things here and there to his game, he has somehow lost his touch around the rim. That the touch that he had in year two and year three, the touch that he had coming into the NBA, the touch that he had when he goes home and plays for his home country, he, for some reason, this year in year four, has not had that touch. And when the season first started, it's a question of, okay, is this just a slump, or is this where he's really at? Is this just a small thing and he'll bounce back? But here we are post All-Star break, and it's still kind of the same thing. He'll still start games really, really slow. And it won't be because he's getting clamped. It's because he'll miss a layup, and then he'll get like a bunch of putbacks really quickly where he'll miss them a bunch, or he'll miss the floaters, so miss a little push shots. And these are all shots that we've seen him make with regularity, like I said, in year two, year three. So it's really interesting to see the fact that he's missing them. But Brad, what do you think? Why do you think he's missing these shots?
Man, my guess is as good as yours. This has been a topic the entire season. And when we talked about it earlier, we thought, okay, it's been 10 games. He'll come around. We've seen him in the first 3 years of his career. In year one, he was pretty efficient. Year two, he had like a 60 true shooting percentage, which is solid. Last year was 58. And now he's around 53.6 for the entire year. And I mean, we're more than halfway through the season, I think 25 games left, and he's still having these issues. We'll see what happens. I'm hopeful he'll regain his touch back, but there is a little bit of concern there just because it's carried over so long. Like me and you both thought this would be gone at this point this season, and it's still there. Looking at last game, 11-24. Game before, I believe he was 8 for 21. It's just not himself, and we're not hating on Şengün, everyone. We know how good he is, and we just have higher expectations for him. We know he finishes better at the rim than what we're seeing. His floater is usually money. He's missing that. Some of his hook shots is usually money. He's missing those things. So, I mean, again, we just know how good he is and what to expect from him when he's at his best. I am hopeful that he gets that touchback. I don't know what it is at this point. My guess before could have been the defense. He's playing a lot better defense. He's more energized on that end, and maybe that's taken away from his offensive touch. But, I mean, at a certain point, it does have to come back. I'll give him credit on one thing. The mid-range shot looks a lot better than the beginning of the season, so I'll give him credit there. But as a whole, the efficiency just has to be better for it back to the basket center.
The interesting part is, I wouldn't even say it's a conditioning or a defense thing, because he misses them in the first and second quarter. It's the third and fourth quarter where he starts making them again.
Yeah.
When you would assume he would be tired. So I'm not even sure that's what it is. The only couple of theories I have is, I know that he lost a lot of weight this summer.
He did.
To try to slim up and get better defensively, be a bit more mobile. And maybe that the weight loss has played a factor in the touch regressing. I'm kind of just grasping at straws here, but maybe that's what it is. I think there's also a chance that, like, I do think to some degree he is hurt. Not to excuse his play because he's missing layups and floaters that, like, as a big man, you should be able to make in your sleep. But I do think that there is a world where he is playing hurt, so maybe that's factoring in a little bit there. And then I think, especially like when you look at his free throws, because that's another area where he's been really struggling at this season. I think it also might be a confidence thing. I think there might be a little bit of self doubt going on right now. I think he's a bit too in his head. It's a bit easier when you're flowing, when things are going good, because you kind of have that confidence in yourself. You know you're that good versus when they're not going that well. You're having to second guess yourself. And so I think those are some of my like leading theories. I honestly I don't really know what it is. I don't know what's causing this from Şengün, and I think that at this point, like I said, we are over halfway done with the season, and it has not regressed to the mean just yet. I think that it just might feel like he has to deal with in the off season. Like he might take the off season reset, get his mind right, get his body right, and then come into a year 5 with something different. But I'm not sure what can be done during the season. And I'll let my plan by saying if we go into year 5 and it's still kind of the same thing, I'm not worried yet. I'm not panicking yet. I'm not going to sit
Same. Yeah.
and say that there's any long term ramifications from him struggling this season. If we go into year 5 and it's the same thing, then we are start having some conversations about, okay, what really is the issue and how can we solve it? Because this is something that's really going to like limit his ceiling and limit what we can do in terms of building around him. So yeah, that's kind of all I'd say about that particular topic.
Yeah, I'll add one last thing on the point that he does start slow and finish a lot better. I had the numbers pulled up real quick, then we can jump to the next topic. True shooting percentage in the first quarter this year for Alperen Sengun, he's at 44.8%. If you know anything about true shooting percentage, that's way below average, probably 10% below league average. Second quarter, he
You said
jumps to
44 is way more than 10%. League average is 57, 58, and
did it increase this year? I know last I looked, it was around 55%.
I think it's 57. I mean, I could be wrong. But I want to say it's perfect. I mean, 55 TS is not good to me. And then I'll say for a big man, because that's league average factors everybody. For a big man, your true shooting should be above 57, 58, because you're mostly taking layups and floaters, high quality shots around the rim. Whereas if you're like a guard or a wing, for example, who's a bit more perimeter oriented, you are taking more threes, and that does like a three is less efficient than a layup, tremendously, honestly. So like that's why the league average for bigs should be even higher than league average, period, because they're taking more high quality shots. So contextualization, 44% that's inefficient no matter what position that's terrible no matter what position you play. It's even worse when you're a big. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So to your point, I looked it up really quick. This year it is 57% on league average true shooting percentage. And yeah, as you mentioned, centers should have a higher true shooting. So yeah, first quarter for him is 44.8%. Second quarter, he jumps to 56, just still slightly below league average. Third quarter, 55.9%. And then in the fourth quarter, he is at a 57.7. So his best quarter is in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, he gradually increases, but he's got to fix it and make it a full game sample size for that. But yeah, we can go to the next topic.
The next one we had was the Rockets losing 3 of their last 11 games. Yeah, man, that's
or 8 of the last 11 too. Yeah, I had that written wrong. My fault.
Yeah, losing 8 of the last 11. Yeah,
yeah.
That is it's a stat there, man. Went from second seed to the 5th seed. I'm not even sure what much to say about that, to be honest with you. I mean, they're just losing games that they shouldn't have lost, and they've completely erased all the good standing they created for themselves when they beat the Celtics, when they beat the Cavs. They beat a lot of good teams this year, and they've kind of eliminated all that good standing by losing these games, especially losing games to teams we shouldn't be losing to. Like losing to Dallas, thanks to an Anthony Davis masterclass, like happens, cool, whatever. But when you lose back-to-back games to the Nets, when you lose like last night to the Jazz, there's another game I can't remember which one, where we sold at the end as well. Like, we're struggling with finishing games, we're struggling with our late game execution. Like that. Those are the L's that you look back on. You're like, we should have won those games. And obviously, if you win them, you're not the 5th seed right now, which is problematic. I will say, I tweeted this out today. The big picture, this team is still very much on pace for a 50-win season, or maybe a game or two over that. And for a team that's mainly comprised of 22, 23-year-olds, and we've had a lot of injuries to key guys in our rotation pretty much all of 2025, right? Jabari's been out. Amin got suspended. Fred's been out recently. Tari doesn't play back-to-backs. Steven Adams doesn't play back-to-backs.
Mhm.
I'd be forgetting somebody else in the mix there. But we haven't been the healthiest team, in 2025. A young team that has been kind of up and down with rotation guys, like we're still very much ahead of schedule for what it's supposed to be for a young team in the stage of the rebuild. You look at a lot of these teams who go through hard tanks like we do, they usually don't come out as a top 5 seed at the end of, I guess this would be the 5th year of the rebuild, technically, maybe
Kind of. Yeah,
the
yeah.
first 5 this year. So yeah, about 5. Um, yeah, this is like most teams usually don't come out of that as the 5th seed like we are right now. Like that doesn't typically happen. And I still think that we are on pace to be a competitive first round team. And then if nothing else, like depending on who we get, we might go to round 2. But I think we're still very much on pace for that, which is obviously ahead of schedule. So like big picture, sliding from 2nd to 5 because you're losing a lot of games isn't the end of the world. You're still very much you go from like being way ahead of schedule to like you're just ahead of schedule now. Now that being said, though, it's like we were on that 2 seed pace, and it wasn't because like we was beating up on bad teams; we was beating good teams. And so it's like this team is clearly capable. The funny part is, honestly, is we beat the teams we're supposed to beat. I mean, we're not supposed to beat, and then we lose the teams we're supposed to beat. Right? We lost to the Charlotte Hornets, lost to the Spurs, lost to the Warriors without Steph. Like I said, lost to the Nets twice, lost to the Jazz just last night. Like games like that like should be layup games. I know it's the NBA, like it's just like it's a layup game, but you lose games like that, that adds up over the season. So it's like big picture, we're good. In the macro, it's like I know this team is better than what it's shown, even though we're ahead of schedule. I think we are better than what we've shown, and it is a little disappointing that they were not able to maintain that pace. I'm not saying they have to be the 2nd seed the whole season. I didn't think we were going to be, but to fall this far that fast and kind of like unforced to do so, it was a little disappointing. And so they had a lot of ground to make up for to kind of get back there. I think they can do it. And they just got to do it for the rest of the season. It's not that much games left. Got to make that lock in right now.
Yeah, like we talked about, 25 games left, and losing that many games in a short span is definitely frustrating. We'll mention it, a bunch of injuries. Some guys don't play back-to-backs. You can look at, there's a stat Ben Dubose put out today. On 0 days rest, the Houston Rockets this season are 5-8 on the year. So those are back-to-backs do affect them because, again, you're missing Tari on the second half. Guys like Steven don't play in the second half. Things of that nature. We're just getting a Jabari Smith Jr. back. I still believe he's very impactful, helps his team versatility-wise. Even though he had an off game yesterday, he still helps them. Big picture, as much as, a lot of people want to move on from Fred VanVleet eventually, he has missed pretty much every single game in this stretch outside of that very first Memphis Grizzlies game that they lost on the road. And that game came down to the stretch, 1 possession loss. That next game, Fred gets hurt against the Brooklyn Nets, and boom, the Rockets have won like 3 games since then. So it could just boil down to Fred. This man is that important to the Houston Rockets. They looked lost without him last year. They looked lost with him this season. And again, I'm not excusing the Rockets' mistakes this year and what we've seen from them recently. There's a lot of issues that they need to take care of. But with Fred being back, that might just mess around and solve everything that we've been seeing. He's their stabilizer, comes in, gets everyone set. I don't need to explain what Fred does. We watch the Houston Rockets. So I am really curious to see what it looks like when he gets back. And if a lot of these issues still are there, then that's where my concern will start to kick in. But even then, they're losing games they should not be losing, Fred or not. Like, you're not losing to the Nets twice. You can't lose to who did we play yesterday? I'm just blanking out.
Jazz.
The Jazz. You can't lose to a Utah Jazz team that's won 14 games on the season. Those things are inexcusable, again, regardless if Fred VanVleet plays or not. But yeah, they have to pick it up soon. They are the 5 seed now. I had high hopes for this team to win 50 games. If they go 15-10 on the year, I think they get there, which I still believe they can do. They just need to lock in now. There's no excuses for any game they play. So that's just where I stand on that topic. But some other topics I've seen people talk about on Twitter coming out of the All-Star break. Ime Udoka opted to play Jason Tate and Aaron Holiday in front of Ken Whitmore and Reed Shepherd. Now, Reed Shepherd, again, he hasn't been playing most of the year. Aaron Holiday and him kind of been splitting minutes. So I wasn't too surprised to see Aaron Holiday playing those minutes over Reed to start, especially after he just dropped 25 on Golden State. Cam Whitmore now, he was playing after, the start of the year, he was in the G League. Oh, he started the year on the team, then went to the G League for a little minute, and then he was getting minutes up until the All-Star break. So, yeah, a lot of people were surprised to see him not playing post All-Star break. I'll say this really quickly, and then I'll kick it to Will. Ime, in his presser after the Jazz loss, he wanted to see this team have a higher IQ, consistent competitiveness. I'll probably just look at that and say maybe that's what Ime is looking at when it comes to Cam, him not playing. Yes, we know Cam is talented, a shot creator, athletic, finisher. This year, he is having a down year in the efficiency department, and we all know, IQ is an area of improvement for Cam Whitmore. He'll get there again. I think he could be a star in the future. So it doesn't it doesn't per se surprise me that he's not playing in these games, just based off what Udoka is looking for. I do like Cam as a player. I have to keep putting these precursors. I know how people feel about Cam. He's very talented. But I do understand when I see Ime not playing him. I'd like to see him in the rotation. They do need that scoring, especially off the bench. And Cam, I've seen little improvements, marginal improvements in areas that he's been lacking his rookie year and the start of the year. But it doesn't surprise me that he's opting for a guy like Jayshawn Tate, even though that's not ideal. I prefer to see Cam out there. He's way more talented than Jayshawn. But Jayshawn, defensively, is better. Off-ball defense is better. Again, the spacing is just not there. That's why, again, I'd ideally like to see Cam. But Udoka probably felt he's got Jabari back. That shooting is made up with him being in the lineup. But I would ideally like to see Cam. I hope he can figure it out, or I hope he can gain Udoka's trust by the end of the year. But yeah, when it comes to Holiday, again, he's just producing. Reed still getting his confidence on that shot. I hope that comes soon. I'd like to see all these young guys, the core of 7, earn themselves minutes for this playoff run, because that's going to be important in what the Rockets do going forward. I'd like to see these guys in the lineup.
I'll say, for fear of being labeled a hater, I won't elaborate too much. I'll put it like this: Cam Whitmore has played every minute that he's earned this season, and I mean every minute. So that's my take on that. He's playing the minutes he's earned. And then as far as Reed Shepherd goes, Aaron Holiday's just better than him right now. I think it's just that simple. Aaron Holiday's a better basketball player. He's a better defender right now. He's a better shooter right now. He doesn't seem to play with the same level of timidness that Reed plays with. And we're a team that's trying to win basketball games, right? So you don't get the opportunity to go out there and work through your mistakes and find your confidence on the court. If you don't have it ready that night, got to go sit down. So same with Reed. I think Reed has played the minutes he's earned. And I don't disagree with any of the coaching decisions in terms of who plays. The only thing I have an issue with, honestly, isn't necessarily that Tate or Holiday are playing, or even like a Jeff Green yesterday. That's not my issue. My issue is more of who plays with who than who is playing. I think that the guys who are playing are fine within the context of what is available on this team at this current juncture. But what is kind of an issue I have is the lineups where we'll go with no Amin, no Jalen, no Şengün. Quite honestly, I don't really see why we don't have 2 or 3 of those guys. I'm sorry, 2 of those 3 guys on the court at all times, but at minimum, at least 1. And like I said, I would low-key have I would stagger it to where 2 of those 3 guys are on the court at all times, because I think our offense really suffers for it. And then you just can't have Amin and Tate play together. Like that just can't happen. Tate in a men's minute should be exclusively offset. You can't, like, spacing wise, that just doesn't work. So that's my issue more than who is playing. It's which of the guys who are playing, making sure that the right lineups are out there that complement one another, that make sense to keep the offense afloat. And it just makes sense. And so I think the guys who are playing have earned their minutes.
It's a good way to put it. I think Udoka's been fair this year. I mean, if you're going to earn your minutes, he's going to give you those minutes. So once Reed starts kicking it into high gear, he's going to be getting those minutes. Same with Cam Whitmore. But yeah, luckily for this Rockets team, I kind of spoke on Jabari briefly. It is good to have him back in the lineup. It really showed in that first game he had back when the Rockets won on that ESPN game. Definitely needed. But Will, what do you think about Jabari being back?
He was missed. We missed his rebounding. We missed his 3-point shooting. We missed the spacing he provides. We missed the boxing out. different stuff like that was definitely missed. Didn't have his best game against Utah the other day, but you know what happens. Second game back from injury, it is what it is. I'm glad he's back. I hope he's back. And honestly, I think the biggest addition of him being back is the fact that you no longer have to rely on so many minutes from the Cam Whitmores and the Jayshawn Tates and the guys at the end of our rotation, right? Jeff Green played, I believe, like 22 minutes yesterday, and that was only because Jabari got into foul trouble. But if Jabari was not in foul trouble, we probably don't see him at all, let alone 22 minutes of him, right? So, like, I think one of the added benefits of Jabari being back is the guys who are at the end of our rotation now can go back to the end of our rotation, and we'll start having guys like Jabari back. Same thing with like when Fred comes back. When Fred comes back, we won't have to play Aaron Holiday as much. We won't have to play, Reed Shepard. He's not ready enough, as much anymore because we have Fred back. So I think just having one of our better bodies back was also a huge addition for this Rockets team.
Yeah, I'll speak on a few stats. I mean, the Rockets were third up until Barry got hurt in rebounding, and they fell down to like 27th with him out. So they really missed him in that department. Blocks per game, huge slide as well, like top 5 into the 20s. And then defense as a whole, even though, again, they looked bad against Utah, they've fallen from a top 2 defense to 19th, I believe, when Jabari was out. So it is good to have him back. They missed that versatility. The ability to go small if you're getting fried on the pick and rolls. And again, they did get fried against Utah by Keontae George. But all that being said, Jabari back is very important. For him to play 38 minutes in that first game against Minnesota is very impressive. He was ready, came off the bench, he looked good. So it's going to be good to have him back regardless. Yes, 21-year-olds are inconsistent. So I'm not tripping about a bad game, one bad game from him. He is important to this team and what they are going to need in the playoffs. He's going to play a ton of minutes for them. So that's what I had to say about that. We had a few more topics. We probably could have slid this one in, the 6 straight losses on the road. I'll say this. The Rockets started the year as a top 3 team on the road, and they probably have lost every game since that Memphis one. They lost against Memphis on TNT. I don't think they've won a road game since then. In fact, the last road game they won might have been a men's game winner in Boston.
Was the second Cavaliers game in Houston?
The second one was in Cleveland, but they played Boston right after that, I want to say.
Boston was after that game? That's right. We played Cleveland consecutive 2 times. That's right.
Yeah.
So it would have been, that was
last. Actually, the Hawks game right after that may have been the last one because they did play the Hawks right after. But regardless, that's like in January. I don't know if they won a road game this month. I actually want to look it up right now. But while I look this up, again, the Rockets, a big reason for their success this year was them winning on the road. Last year, they were 27-14 at home, but they were 14-27 on the road. That's the reason they were 41-41. This year, them being that good on the road was the difference in them being an 11 seed versus a 2 seed, because if they were playing as good as they were on the road as they were doing at home. So they have to get back to winning those games on the road. They can't have these huge slides where they don't know how to play basketball anymore. Again, it's really inexcusable. And yeah, I looked it up. Well, that was their last time winning a road game. The Atlanta Hawks, January 28th. So, yeah, I think they're done this year on the road. Yeah, they finished the month without a single win on the road. So that can't happen. They finished the month without a win on the road is what I meant to say. Yeah, so they got to improve. Again, maybe it's Fred. Regardless, there's no excuses in my opinion for that.
I mean, yeah, I don't, I think Brad kind of touched on everything with that one. You just gotta win the road game, win the easy ones, bro.
Win the easy ones.
Just win the easy ones. You don't gotta beat Denver at home every time. You don't gotta beat OKC at home. You don't gotta beat like we beat Boston at home. We beat Cleveland at home. We beat guys like that on the road. It's the easy ones, man. I gotta make sure you beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. Yeah. And that is, like I said, you're going to drop a game here or 2 there. Like, that's fine. The problem is when it starts snowballing, you start dropping too many games that you're not supposed to drop. And that's what's happening a lot, is you're dropping games to Utah on the road where, like, yeah, we shouldn't need to – it shouldn't get us to the wire to beat Utah. So, yeah, like, just start winning those games again. And that, like, literally that's the difference between us being the 5th seed and the 2 seed right now, is dropping games like that. So yeah, it's pretty frustrating.
I agree. We'll end on some optimism. Post All-Star break, Jaylen Green has always been a thing since his rookie year. Thompson is playing well. Yes, I'll give him his props too. But for Jaylen Green 2 games. It's been 2 games, low sample, but 30 points so far in his 2 games post All-Star break, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, and the efficiency looks really good. Hopefully, we get that same post All-Star break surge that we've been seeing those past few years from Jaylen. And that's another reason that can help them pop off in March when Fred comes back. So it is good to see him come back like that. 25 and 10 yesterday, and you typically don't want to lose those kind of games from Jaylen Green. But it is good to see him looking good. I think out of everybody, those breaks help him the most, just because he plays through those injuries. Udoka spoke on it. He's playing banged up, and he never misses a game. Hasn't missed a game since February 26th of 2023. It's the last time he missed a game. So him getting those little breaks definitely helps him.
Yeah, Jalen's been playing well. I don't really want to dive too much in it because I've learned with the Jalen experience, you gotta look like you can't look at the macro with Jalen. You gotta kind of take it with the bigger picture with him. So I don't like analyzing it too small when it comes to Jalen. But he's been playing well. He's been playing well, and it's helping the team. I can't sit here and complain when he plays well. He's playing well. He's just the post All-Star break. And with Jalen, I think the take with him is just always going to be consistency, right? Can you do it? And can you do it for longer than a game or longer than a week? We've seen him do it for a month now. Can you do it longer than a month? And if you can do those things, I mean, obviously the discourse around him changes a lot. All-Star, All-NBA, all stuff like that starts coming into the picture. But like I said, that's just on him to start getting that consistency down. He has the opportunity, he has the platform. He's got to be consistent with it. And, it's a small sample, but he's looking pretty good right now. But as Brad touched on, March is usually when he starts playing some of his best basketball. So if he can kind of pick up that play and help the team get some more wins in March, kind of down the stretch, and hopefully carry that into the playoffs, that would be amazing. It's if he could carry this elevated play, make sure that it's there when we need it the most. If he can do that, obviously that would be huge for this team. So, I like what I'm seeing. I hope he just keeps building off of it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Last thing I'll say on this topic, or not even this topic, but on this podcast as a whole, I'll say one last thing about Şengün. His 2 games back, he did have 24 and 13 and 27, 12 and 7. That's with the bad efficiency. So once he figures it out, I mean, look, I got to give him his props for being an all-star. Once he really figures it out, he's going to be an issue. He's really going to be an issue. We all are huge fans of Alperen Sengun. Don't want anyone to think we're hating on him. Just letting you know, the production is there. He's just got to hit the bunnies, and he's good to go. So that's the last thing I want to say on this episode. Hopefully the Rockets pick it up. Will and I will be back soon. Did you have anything else you wanted to add? I appreciate y'all tuning in if y'all stuck around this long. Like I said, we'll be back soon.